Hey, what's going on, YouTubers, gamers and hobbyists? Welcome to this week's episode of P&Q, the question and answer series where you get to ask me questions or put comments to me and then I respond the following week. Now you can do this one of four ways. You can either pop your comment or question down below in that comment section, which is the most popular method, or you can email me directly at miniwarzone@gmail.com. There will be a link in the video description below that will give you an anonymous response, or if you make a video series yourself or just a one-off video, but you ask a question and I see it and I think it's a cool question, I want to answer it here, then I'll answer it here. For if you meet me in person, you can either put a comment to me or we'll talk about something, or you ask me something and I think that's good, I'll answer that or address it on P&Q as well. So those are the four ways. And that does happen. Sometimes I will run into somebody and they'll obviously talk to me. I'm just like, yeah, that's a good point you're raising there, and let's talk about it. Anyway, this week I have 4 video questions, 1 email. Okay, so let's start with the email, shall we? Now, you may have noticed I'm in a different part of the studio. It's just a fancy change, and if you hear anything, distortion or like a motor, that's a fan blowing on me, so just low blowing on me in the background. Now I've got my window open, so if you do hear any outside noise, that is what it is. Right, it's a short email, so I'll read the whole thing. It says, "Hi Pete, this is the first time of ever emailing you, so my question is, what is the worst part of the hobby for you and what is the best part?" I suppose that's 2 questions really though, haha. Many fine regards and keep up the great work. PS, my favourite series is your On the Bench videos. I love to hobby along with you. Well, thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I always love hearing cool feedback like that. That is sweet. As for the question or questions, so you start with the worst and end on the good. That's good. That's how it should be, I suppose. Worst part of the hobby for me, that's easy. Decals or transfers. I hate them. I hate applying them because I always screw them up. I always end up just flicking them off into the bin, damn thing, I do put it off sometimes, but I hate them ultimately, and a lot of the time I'd rather just not bother or try and freehand whatever it is, the icon or whatever. So there's that. And the best part of the hobby, I suppose, for me is the painting. I love the painting. Oh, it's absolutely brilliant. And obviously seeing my efforts on the tabletop then. So painting and playing, I suppose. Painting probably just slightly more because I do it more often, I suppose that's why. So there you go, decals and painting. On to the video questions. The first one comes from the Nerd Life on the Q&A series. Richard says, what kind of weird challenge would you be willing to do? Weird challenge? I don't know about weird challenge. The only kind of challenge I probably would do is an eating challenge. I like watching and taking part in those. I don't know if you recall my fowl challenge some time ago now. Should be on my random playlist section where Mrs. Mini Warzone and I eat a fowl. Oh, that was hot. I can still remember the burn. Yeah, probably an eating challenge. Kristen asks, how would you beat the Facebook algorithms? I have no idea. No idea, because they change, don't they? Too much. Facebook, YouTube, it's all all the algorithms of everything. I just try and tag as much as I can, that I'm able to, and just keep plodding on. That's what I do. But if anybody knows how, then let me know. Okay, British Legion is next. Question on his Poxwalker's video. It says, what myth or legend would I like to be true? I gave this one some thought, and I narrowed it down to 2, and I can't narrow it down to any more than that. So the first one would be the Loch Ness Monster up in Scotland. I would love for all the sightings of Nessie to be true, and say that, oh yeah, those guys were right, he does exist. Some like prehistoric creature that left over from an age gone by. The other one I think would be cool would be Bigfoot. Yeah, Legend of Bigfoot. That would be sweet. Okay, next question is me. On my Q&S says, name your top 5 books or series of books. Right. Well, Lord of the Rings has got to be up there. Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. All the Shannara series of books by Terry Brooks. The Dragonlance novels by Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman. I love the setting. It's so damn cool. And I'll say Bag of Bones by Stephen King. It's just a great one-off novel. Just great, written brilliantly. Okay, so I hope that answers my question. The last video question comes from Green Stuff Games on the VQ&A series, and it says, what was the first tabletop or miniature game I ever played? Well, assuming you're putting aside stuff like D&D, because although that used miniatures, a lot of the time you didn't really need miniatures to play D&D, especially in the early days. You just needed a good imagination. So we'll leave that one to one side. So I suppose the first tabletop game or board game I ever played that had a lot of miniatures in would have been Hero Quest. What was that, late 80s? Yeah, Hero Quest was my first one, and then shortly after that I got into Space Crusade, and shortly after that I got into Space Hulk. So those were the three main tabletop games, or skirmish games. I know they're kind of technically somewhere between a tabletop game and a board, like a skirmish game and a board game, or a war game and a board game, but I'm going to have to go with those because they had lots of cool miniatures. And yeah, other than that, it was Warhammer. So that's all the video questions out of the way. So let's move on to the questions that were left on the video from last week, starting with JamJar34, who says, day one of listening to you on the way home was very cool. Question: what do you like listening to in your car? Great one as always. Well, I suppose I'd have to go back some years now to answer this, when I used to do a lot of long distance driving at night. So it was very lonely. It was very lonely to do that for like work, and it was quite a lonely job. You felt like you were the only person in the world sometimes. And I used to like listening to just somebody talking in the background, so I would put the radio on. However, I don't remember the show, but there was a gardening program, so you'll probably appreciate this. And I used to prefer the gardening programs best of all. People talking about their gardens and, you know, what they planted and how it's getting on, and tips and all that kind of stuff, you know. How they're pruning the roses and tying this back and what they're planting for this month, or whatever it might have been. And that's what I preferred more than anything. Just somebody talking in the background. Failing that, I'd find any show where just someone was just talking. So it felt like I had someone there with me whilst I was driving. I wasn't a big fan of music, listening to that. Really, I found that too distracting. Now, I don't do much in the way of long distance driving, and anywhere I go that is fairly long, I suppose, I usually have someone with me, at least Mrs. Mini Warzone. So we talk to each other. And on short distances, I just don't bother putting anything in to listen to. That's just the way I roll. Okay, on with Drake's War Channel. Says, thank you for your answer regarding the Normans. I was curious if people in the southwest of England felt differently than in the northeast about that specific period. My question this time is, are you excited about using your Primaris Marines in a battle, and how do you expect them to change the way you use your army? Yeah, I'm hugely excited to use them. Well, they're not nearly done, but I suppose I'm nearly halfway there with them. But then I've got a lot of finicky details to do on them. So it'll be a while before I start using them on tabletop. Yeah, I'm hoping to start today actually and test out my orcs, see how they fare. But Primaris Marines, how do I expect them to change the way I use my army? Probably just to use more of them instead of conventional Space Marines, I suppose. I'll probably use them more as allies. So I'll probably use allies a lot more. I'll probably do a lot more deep striking type stuff with them as well. Okay, moving on. Thank you for your question. Very good question. Super Wargamer is next. Says, if you are offered gene therapy to become a werewolf, Would you take it and why? Then in brackets, got you this time. You think you got me, do you? Well, like I said, how do you know I'm not a werewolf? So the question really should be, if I was offered gene therapy to become a human, would I take it and why? And I would have to say no. No, thank you. Nope. I'll stay as I am. Got you. Courangela Silicus is next. Saying another triumph at P&Q. With reference to your trilby you were wearing, yes, that's right. How many hats do you have? What's your favourite style of hat? And is there a style of hat you do not own but would like to? Do you, if you count bandanas as hats, I know technically they're not hats, but they cover my head. I've got in excess of 70 of those, different designs and colours and things. I've got 3 caps, 2 deer stalkers, and about 3 woolly hats. One of which is like a woolly beanie hat that my wife, Mrs. Minnie, also knitted for me just recently, so I shall treasure that one. And in the winter, I shall probably wear it. Is there a style of hat I do not own but would like to? I'd like to own like a top hat and have it as like a gothic punk. So put some clockwork stuff and on it and some goggles and that kind of thing. Make it a real steampunk. I mean, yeah, not gothic punk, steampunk. A steampunk hat is what I would like. So top hat, lots of old clock parts on it, and some goggles. Yeah, that's what I would like. Tabletop Banter is next. Says, great video, Pete. Where do your academic passions sit, and how do you feed that passion currently? Literature and English is where my academic passions sit. How do I feed that passion currently? I edit and proofread literature for people. So yeah, and Mrs. Mini Warzone is one of those. It's a pleasure always to go through her work. So yeah, that's how I feed that. And my other passion is film. So I like to watch films and movies, and I like the home video stuff that we do here on YouTube. I find that fascinating, and so I love all this stuff. So yeah, I'm feeding that through the hobby. And the last question I have, or comment it could be, it's from Frost and Fists. It says, awesome episode, my brother. You mentioning RP, role-playing, as your geeky pleasure before wargaming made me realise that should have been my answer as well. It's been my pastime since high school, and I've never stopped. By the way, I recently started a D&D group with some friends, and I'm now playing a brand new level 3 fighter with a specialty in throwing knives. So much fun. Take care, my brother, Wolf Brother Mythos. That does actually sound like a heaps of fun. I'll put the questions to one side for a moment. I once played an assassin many moons ago. I suppose we're talking 2nd edition of D&D, or maybe 3rd. Anyway, when the assassin character first came out, so whenever that was, and I had all the weapons under the sun, all the sword, and I had like a pack pony type thing, so like a mule, and I had one of those bags that you just unravel and it fell down, and had all the swords and knives and shuriken and goodness knows what else. I was on one side, on the other side I had bows and arrows and crossbows and goodness knows what else. I was kind of like a hitman for the D&D universe, and it was a really cool time to play because I fed it with my imagination so much, and we had such a cracking group of players back then. It really was brilliant. I mean, sadly, those days I cannot get back, but I do have the good memories of it, and I remember it with a great fondness when I think back on it. So have fun with your fighter, dude. And that's it. That's all the questions I've got. So it's a bit of a short one this week, but that happens sometimes, hey? So all that remains for me is to say, remember, all brushes lead to war, and I will see you on the next video. Bye for now.